Hello, everybody, and welcome into Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. This podcast is brought to you by Betway. We're going to be looking at the over-under lines for this terrible team, the Miami Marlins, continuing with our profiles and our projections. We are on to the third worst team from last year, Miami. You think about Miami, they were a really cool city, but not a very cool baseball team. These guys are not good, everybody. And spoiler alert, they didn't get a whole lot better. Let's start off by just refreshing everybody with what their win-loss total was last year.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too far off of what they're being projected, and we'll reveal that a little bit later. 62 wins and 100 losses right on the dot.
My.
It was not good for a team that actually made the playoffs a couple times in the last 5 years. Can you believe it? And
no, actually, I can't.
I know, right?
Like, it's a wild thing to know that they made, because they made it. Correct me if I'm wrong. The year prior, in 2023,
and then COVID year, and now where are we right now? They also didn't do a whole lot this offseason. In fact, I think they literally retracted from this team. That's how bad they got. I said in the last profile projection that the Rockies were one of the worst teams or run teams in all of baseball. This is number 2 for me. Miami Marlins are one of the worst because, again, like you said, they have a great city. It's not like they don't have fans. They just can't build a baseball team. This is who they lost in free agency. They traded away Jake Berger. That was their guy. That was their rock.
Like
that was
the one
your
guy
run
that
producer.
I could get behind, you know?
The one dude that produced runs on your team, you traded him away after you traded for him like just a couple years ago. And then you go and you trade away, where was it here? Jesus Luzardo. Yes, he didn't have a great year last year. He dealt with some injuries, but that was still a guy that you could get behind and had some great moments. You traded him away over to the Philadelphia Phillies, a division rival. You get rid of him, and they lost also some other guys around the league. They released Mike Bowman, Vidal Brujan. They traded him away to the Cubs. They're literally losing dudes. They traded away one of their catching depth guys, Joni Pereda, got rid of him. And now you're looking at a team. What did they add?
Well, they added Kyle Quantrill, Adam.
From the Rockies.
There you go. Big acquisition with a 4.98 ERA. And let's not forget, everybody, they added in Eric Wagaman.
Oh.
I don't know who
Eric
that
Wagaman?
is.
Oh, an infielder, outfielder. No idea.
Eric Wagaman.
From the Angels.
If anybody knows who Eric Wagaman is, please let me know. He had a 250 batting average last year with a 673 OPS and 72 at-bats. That was his first and only year.
Yeah, he hasn't really played that much at all.
Yeah. So that was their big offseason acquisition, Eric Wagaman and Kyle Quantrill.
Oh, yeah, good.
And
yeah.
Kyle Quantrill. I got you. But they're joining a roster that desperately needs a lot more. Looking over at that lineup, last year, everybody, in terms of hitting, they had the 26th ranked OPS in all of baseball, 678. Honestly, I'm surprised that they were even that high. I think a big reason why was because of Jake Berger, who is now no longer on this team because he had a 761 OPS last year and 29 bombs. Honestly, pretty solid on this roster. Looking at their lineup now, it goes like this. Xavier Edwards.
I can get behind a Mr. Xavier Edwards. This is the new trade acquisition for another team in a couple years. Oh, also, we didn't even affect this, and they lost Jazz Chisholm deadline. They got rid of him, too.
That's true.
And this is their new Jazz Chisholm because he's exciting. He's young. He had an 820 OPS last year, a 2-WAR OPS plus of 124. He's 25. I could get behind a Mr. Xavier Edwards, that middle infielder. But I just don't have faith that he'll be here long. He'll be here this year for now,
right?
But and he'll be leading off and doing some good stuff. But I just know he's going to be traded in a few years.
Okay. Well, look, there's
no jumping the gun here.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe, but you know, they do need to. He will get traded in a couple years.
This year he'll be.
He'll be here, and we're hoping that he plays good ball. He's getting thrown into a big role, though. You know, at a young age, so we'll see how he can handle it. But somebody that is semi-promising.
Exactly.
Batting second for them. They got Connor Norby. Now, last year he played 36 games, so very small sample size. Can't really put too much weight on it, but maybe something.
He was a top prospect for the Baltimore Orioles. One of those Baltimore Orioles guys they got. You know, and you know, you look at what he did when he came over to Miami. He batted 247 with an OPS of 760. Right. So, like, when he got there in 36 games, decent. So you're hoping that maybe you get some of that Baltimore magic and he breaks out.
Yeah. So right now we got 2 hopefuls, and and then this is kind of where it starts to fall off. Batting third, you got Jesus Sanchez, very average bat. We kind of know who he is at this point. He's going to be like a mid to low 700 OPS. That's their third hitter. Behind him, Jonah Bride. Oh,
he's interesting. I mean,
what did he do last
year? He had an 818 OPS
71 games.
Yeah, like in 232 at bats, but he never really got the playing time. In the prior years, he was really bad, but this is the first time he actually got playing time. And now, because again, there's no Jake Berger, it's you now, Jonah Bride.
Right.
What can you do?
So
again, maybe
71 good games of baseball behind him. Like he's batting 4.
Yeah.
Griffin Conine. 27 years old.
Former Blue Jay.
This is somebody, a lefty.
A guy.
Do we feel any ways about Griffin?
Not really. I mean, look, I'm looking at it right now. The Blue Jays drafted him in 2018, and I remember hearing his name, but he was like low in the Blue Jays prospect system, so I don't put a lot behind it.
He's batting 5th now for Miami. 6th, they got Otto Lopez. We do know about. Yeah. He is a Toronto Blue Jay player. Not very good was a Toronto Blue Jay player. Excuse me. Not great offensively speaking. Defensively, he's pretty sound. Kind of a Swiss Army knife in there. Like he can do work for you. He's going to be batting 6th, so that's something.
Yeah, he could steal some bases. He stole 20 bases last year, and he batted 270. You know what I look at Otto Lopez like Ernie Clement. High batting average, can steal a little bit and play some good defense. So
right.
He's a guy.
So there's another thing. Kyle Stowers is going to be batting 7th for them. Terrible, offensively speaking, just like genuinely the worst. He had a negative 0.5 WAR, negative 1 WAR on his career so far. So hopefully he can build off of that.
Yeah.
Derek Hill and then Nick Forte is going to be rounding out the lineup down there for those Miami Marlins.
Yeah, like I look at this lineup and literally all of them are kind of in the same category for me. They're all in those mid-20 age range. Like they're all young and they're all, what can you do? You know, like we're all rolling a dice. It's not a very promising. I think the best one's Xavier Edwards and Connor Norby. But like, what can you do? Even Kyle Stowers like traded in that whole deal with Connor Norby for Trevor Rogers. It was right. So and Stowers, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought at one point he was actually like doing very good for the Baltimore Orioles. Let me just fact check myself here. Yeah, when he was with Baltimore, he had a 306 batting average with a 797 OPS. He goes to Miami, plays terribly in 50 games.
Yeah.
And then
and granted, that was only a 19.
It was only a 19-game sample size. So, you know, what can you do in Miami? Again, all these guys, it's like, let's see a full season out of you. What can you do? But it's kind of hard to bank on all these guys. I could probably say like there'll be 1, maybe 2 guys that show up and are like, oh, okay, like you can actually provide average to maybe a little bit above average service.
So that's the thing, right? Like if we're looking at this lineup, like try to take all bias away. Just looking at it, names on a page right now. I mean, realistically, they are all relatively young. And because of that, like, okay, let's say that 2 of them break out.
Yeah.
2 of them break out. You know, 5 of them are kind of mid to below average, and then, you know, a couple of them below.
And then the lineup's like, okay, you're maybe at best a 20th to 15th rank offense in baseball.
So let me ask you then, do you think that this lineup, because they were 26th in baseball last year in terms of OPS, is this a better lineup than that?
No, because
I don't really think so.
No, not at all. Because like I think they have a lot more nuggets of prospect breakout, whereas last year it was kind of dead, and they had definite guys. They either were dead definite guys or good definite guys, like a Jake Bergers and a I'm forgetting Jazz Chisholm Jr. But now it's like, okay, now you got worse, but there's a lot of more prospect maybe breakout dudes coming your way. We'll see. Like it's interesting.
So I look at this lineup and I think to myself, this is a spring training lineup. Because, you know, in spring training, well, what do? We like to play a lot of our young guys, see what they have, see if they're, see if they can come up and earn a spot. And then when regular season rolls around, well, that's when, we pick like a little small handful of them. But mainly, like, we throw together our A lineup.
Right.
And, we get our sure things and we get our, top prospects or whatever. But this is their opening day. Their spring training lineup, a regular team spring training lineup, is the Miami Marlins opening day thing. So you're right. I think that there is some hope to be had here. But I just think that there is way too many question marks here, and arguably like not a single sure thing in any of this.
Yeah,
right?
and they don't really have a lot of guys coming up in like guaranteed breakouts. Like they have this guy Davision De Los Santos. That's a tongueful right there. He's projected to come up. He's their 5th ranked prospect. Augustine Ramirez, he's projected to come up. Other than that, that's kind of it of the top 10 in their own system that's projected to come up this year. Like, again, it's not exciting. It's not good. It's a roll of a dice, but I think there's a cap with what your dice roll could be.
Yeah, like there's no way in hell that this is above average offense.
No, that's why I put them 20 to 15th. Like they will be still
ceiling.
below average. Is
Ceiling.
their ceiling?
Yeah.
Is what they could be. But,
everything works out well. Xavier Edwards is stealing bags left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Getting on base like a madman.
Everyone-
Norby shows up.
Yeah.
Stowers does develop. Yeah, maybe on their ceiling they're 15. I think that they are. If I had to bet my life on it, probably pretty similar to last season. Probably a bottom 5 offense in all of baseball, because honestly, like, this is just so much to ask out of these young kids with no real guidance in any capacity.
Now, in the past, they used to have a great pitching staff to carry them through the season and get them to the playoffs. Right? You could rely on that, but they got worse this offseason. And, trading away Jesus Luzardo, and you look at the rotation right now, and you're like, damn, dude, like, what can we rely on? They are going to get back Sandy Alcantara. That was huge. They missed him all last year. Big
and that
reason.
should be major.
That
right
should be
now,
major.
Assuming he is, of course, healthy and ready. Because, again, like,
Tommy
it's been a whole season, so you never know how these guys are going to come out. But, Sandy, when he's on, he could throw that damn baseball. And they missed him last year. They had a 4.73 ERA as a team. That was the second worst in all of baseball, just trailing behind the Colorado Rockies right there. So getting him back, like, I would argue that they've maybe even added this offseason. In terms
if you
of
consider it that way, right?
Yeah, just because they are getting him back. However, like, ultimately, it's still not great.
Right. I mean, we've seen the Chicago White Sox when they had Garrett Crochet, and if you're kind of maybe comparing Sandy to Garrett, like kind of the same level of what they do at their peaks, then it's like, okay, well, you still need 4 other guys to pitch, in the rotation,
they just don't have it.
They don't. Like, Ryan Weathers is, decent. Pitched 86 innings last year, 16 games, was hurt as well. 3.63 ERA, like, if that can be a middle of the rotation guy, great. But then it's Edward Cabrera. He wasn't so good last year. Max Meyer, and then like you said off the top, they added Cal Quantrill. That 3-4-5 is not very relying for me. I wouldn't be relying on those guys for any wins. So
no,
you have a tiny question mark at Sandy Alcantara if you can see what he can do in terms of health. Same with Ryan Weathers. The rest of the guys, what are you going to get? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and like ultimately, if this pitching staff is to be successful, they need Sandy to be, below a 3 ERA Cy Young. Sandy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think that that's fair to ask of a guy that hasn't pitched in a whole year. Like, I think that Sandy could still be good, but I mean, like, 3.5 ERA good.
Right.
And that's just not enough when you're looking at the rest of this pitching staff and that lineup. Like, you are going to need these pitchers to hold the opposing teams to 3 runs or less, and maximum.
And combining that with that lineup, it's like now you're looking at a recipe for disaster.
This is not a winning formula right here. And then, of course, you got to factor in the bullpen. And there is a lot of names in here that I have never freaking heard of. Calvin Faucher?
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name?
He was decent last year, actually.
What did he do?
He had a 3.19 ERA, 53 innings pitched, 1.3 WAR. Good strikeout to 9 ratio, 10.5.
Oh, God, that whip is terrible.
The whip, yeah? He had to battle?
1.398.
Okay, that's
is a whip. His career whip is 1.53.
See, Calvin Faucher, he's up at the closing role according to Fangraphs. That's a middle reliever for me. That's a middle reliever. Like, you put this guy out in the 5th and 6th.
The season prior to last year, he had a 7.01 ERA.
Oh, boy.
He's
breaking out. He's breaking out. Yeah.
You got to hope that. I mean, the whip is, again, very concerning, like almost a 1.4 whip. And
actually.
For a reliever, you're like, what is that?
Yeah, his walk to 9 ratio, 4.3 walks per 9 innings is not a recipe for
so clearly, like, these Miami fans were like, their heart was pounding when this guy came out.
Well, they had Tanner Scott as their closer for most of the year.
That's true.
And then they traded him away. So then I guess this guy stepped up and got you 6 saves. Or probably a committee thing, honestly.
Could have been.
A committee thing.
They got Jesus Tinoco over there. I don't know who
Again,
that is.
middle relief kind of guy, like not supposed to be your setup guy at all.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the thing. Like we got a couple middle relief guys in here.
Yeah.
Really, nobody in here who's high leverage at all.
No.
And not a lot
No.
of people with upside either.
Yeah, like you got Anthony Veneziano, organization ranked 39. Yikes, last year. He came up to the big leagues and he pitched 13 innings and was okay. Again, a lot of mid guys, but that's not, I mean, this bullpen just looks like a below average bullpen. I mean, it's not like atrocious by any means, but like below average.
Yeah, and
Below
I'm looking at some of the guys that they do have in like their middle bullpen, right? So Lake Bacher, for instance, he's classified as being a middle innings guy for these or middle inning bullpen relief guy. He's only got 9.1 innings to his name in the MLB, right?
Yeah.
So like, and he's 29. So this is clearly like this is a AAA player,
Right.
That is now in a position where well we're gonna play some MLB baseball because we don't have anybody else to do it, right?
Yeah.
And when you factor that in to the pitching staff, who other than Sandy, I don't know if you can really lock anybody in as being like a guy.
No.
This bullpen's going to get worked a lot, and I don't know if they got the personnel to be able to withstand that.
No, there's no studs here until they break out and become studs. We all know bullpen's like volatile from year to year, but someone's got to step up and take over that Scott role. Maybe not going to be Scott, but take over a reliable bullpen role because. Yeah, right. They have a bunch of middle relievers. They have a bunch of fifth inning, sixth inning guys. Nobody that I trust closing games out, especially Calvin, with that walk to 9.
Exactly.
ratio.
So ultimately, like, this is a bad baseball team. That is why they were the third worst baseball team in all of MLB last year. And they haven't done anything this offseason to instill me with any sort of confidence. In fact, you could argue that they even got worse. The the reacquisition of Sandy Alcantara should help things. But, I mean, this is a team that's also been known to trade. Could he get traded at the deadline?
Right.
He could. If he's playing well, he absolutely could. So let's go to that over-under. Right now, Betway has their line at 63.5. If you feel strongly about the over or the under and you want to bet, then please hop on the Betway. We highly recommend it. 60 games is what they won last year. They gave away Berger.
Yeah.
They are getting back Alcantara. They haven't really made that many other moves.
Yeah.
They gave away Luzardo as well. Where are you at with this?
Well, they won 62 and they're projecting to win.
Mistake,
oh, good. But still, the point is like they're projecting them to win even more, like 2 more games. You got worse this offseason, and you got worse at the trade deadline too. So I would say on paper you're a worse team in the second half, and you're a worse team this offseason, and you're relying on breakouts. I can't be having that. I mean, this for me feels like the clearest under I've seen so far on these projections.
Yeah. I mean, like,
you are getting Sandy. That's the one thing you can probably convince yourself.
You are getting Sandy. I mean, I look at this. So, like on Fangraphs, they have these power ranks, and I don't, you don't put too much weight to it, but it kind of shows you like, well, what the players that you have been doing in the past up until this point, and kind of like where they're power ranking your individuals in that lineup. Their highest power ranked player is 113. Yeah. And that's Jesus Sanchez.
Which makes sense.
They have one other guy in the 100s, Otto Lopez at 175.
Yeah.
And then there's 30 baseball teams.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if you were a perfectly average baseball team, you'd have one player in the top 30, one player in the top 60. They don't have any of that.
Yeah.
The lineup's not good. The pitching staff is not good. Like, yeah, it has to be under.
It has to be under.
I've gone under in every single terrible team so far, but you're right. This is not a good baseball team.
And again, look at their division. Same thing we were talking about the Rockies. You got the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets, even the Nationals. I'd even say are getting close to maybe being 500 this year.
Yeah,
they're going to get beat down 52
That's the
times.
thing. Like I could easily see the Nationals taking like 8 out of the 13 games over Miami, and then it's just going to get worse with the Phillies and the Mets, and so on and so forth.
Going to get beat down, and it's going to be bad. Like this again is a clear It's a clear under. You got worse and you're projected better. That for me, that doesn't add up.
Yeah, you guys let us know in the comments down below. Where are you at with this Miami team? Over, under on 63.5. Are they going to trade away Anthony Santander? No, what am I talking about right here? Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah,
there it is. The A's kind of screwed me up right there. But please hit that like, smash that subscribe button. More team profiles and projections on the way, everybody. So if you enjoyed it, stay tuned.
Guys, and make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.